Yeah, because I feel like PE, the problem with PE is that a lot of activities are imposed on young people as opposed to them choosing what activities they want to do. Obviously, if they choose it and they want to do it, they're going to be more engaged in it, and they're going to find it more fun, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hello and welcome to Series 2 of the Bristol Girls Can podcast. Today, our conversation will focus on teenage girls and the drop-off we're seeing at the school/teenage years. I'm Heather from Wesport, and today I'm joined by Kirsty from the Bristol Bears Foundation, Norah from Bath Spa University, and Alice from the University of Bristol. As an opening question, we know that confidence can decline during puberty. Social comparison hits new heights. Why else do we see the drop-off of activity occur between primary and secondary school ages?
I'm going to say in terms of the drop-offs from primary to secondary. So this is a time where girls are becoming adolescents, they're becoming teenagers. And I guess I'm going to talk specifically about Muslim girls. I guess for Muslim girls, they've got this added layer of they suddenly are aware that they have this raised in self-awareness. So they suddenly are aware that everyone can see the differences, that they're very different, especially girls that start wearing a hijab, sorry. So, and so they know that they are visibly different compared to everyone else. But even Muslim girls who don't wear the hijab, they know that they are very much different in terms of their cultures or their modesty expectations, for example. So because of that, this impacts their identity safety, which is a psychological concept essentially where a young person, whether a young person sees how much they are understood or seen or respected in the environment they're in. So, and because of that, I think that impacts specifically Muslim girls coming into secondary school. And I guess also, in terms of sports, you see, they don't see themselves fitting that stereotype of a sporty girl. So, mainstream media has a certain image of a sporty girl, and then Muslim girls don't see themselves fitting into that image. And I guess for teenage girls, everything, all of them look exactly the same because they want to have the same fashion brand and trend. And then Muslim girls can't fit into that, which is a really big problem for them because they want to fit in at that age and they don't feel like they can because that sporty girl look is not something that aligns with their values and their culture, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, I think adding to that as well, this idea that a teenage girl looks a certain way, but actually that transition to secondary school when you're going through so many kind of like changes in your body and yourself and puberty, but actually that happens to girls at very different rates and it's very variable, like at what age you actually go through puberty and those kind of things. So you're like probably looking at your peers who you all know are like 12, 13, but they all actually look very different because they're going through puberty at different stages. So there's a lot of comparison that happens at that age, and then obviously social media kind of compounds that now, which I think is even harder for girls in this generation, having that extra comparison. I think it's always been there peer to peer, and then it's kind of got worse now with social media as well.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree. Yeah,
I had a conversation with a couple of girls last week around like, what is it about PE that makes you not want to engage? And they had said that they find it boring. So they said that from primary school to where they were year 9 in secondary, they said all the way through those years they've always done netball, they've done football, they've done bench ball, and they're not learning anything new. Whereas in science or maths, for example, you go up your years and you progress to the next stage. So it's a bit more exciting because it's like, oh, this year I get to do algebra, for example. Whereas for PE, it's just like, oh, we have football again.
Yeah.
Done football for the last 5 years, like I already know it. So it was interesting because I've never heard that concept before. But yeah, they just said it was boring.
Yeah. But well, yeah, because I feel like PE, the problem with PE is that a lot of activities are imposed on young people as opposed to them choosing what activities they want to do. Obviously, if they choose it and they want to do it, they're going to be more engaged in it and they're going to find it more fun, right?
Mm-hmm. I think this is also like a slightly different change in the in-school environment from primary to secondary. So primary is all about like everyone's just out on the playground, they're kind of doing their own thing. I think when you're younger, you're slightly more kind of creative, making up games and stuff. But then the secondary school environment doesn't seem to encourage that. It tends to be like, definitely was when I went to school, and I don't think it's that different now from like being in schools, that the boys play football and the girls kind of hang around and chat, and like the school environment at secondary school level doesn't seem to be to encourage that just like active play like it does in primary.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so true.
And I think it's also that, like you say, like it is a bit boring. Like we're always doing the same thing. Like when I was just thinking then, like back to what I did at school, and like I only got to do rugby at school because I had a PE teacher that like knew I was really keen on it and I didn't want to do anything else. But it was always like trampoline and netball. And actually, like this school is our first opportunity to be physically active, and we're not getting that variety that we might be, well, that we do get when we're adults. But do we think that the PE is too performance led? Is it too competitive at the expense of the enjoyment?
I think there's an element of that. I mean, I don't know. I guess you guys are more involved with schools and you know what the PE curriculum is kind of like. But I feel like there's a lot of pressure on girls. I think the dropout potentially would be that they find it a bit too competitive, that they don't necessarily want. That's why they kind of drop out. It's like, well, I don't want to. I want to play to have fun, but then everyone's taking it too seriously, and I feel like I might underperform compared to everyone else, and I don't want to look like ridiculous and be judged. So I'm not going to take parts. I feel potentially.
I think if you take part in sport outside of school or like within a school team playing against other schools, I think that's where you would find the competitiveness. Whereas in PE, you kind of, like you said, just want to like move and enjoy playing sport with like your friends possibly, rather than being assessed on what you're doing, or like, oh, we have to do netball because that's the sport that we're on this term, rather than, oh, there's a football free, a couple of us want to play football, let's go do that. Like it seems so I think the curriculum has to be in place, right, to be able to I suppose have a structure within the schools for PE, but is it necessary for like year 7s, year 8s, like that younger age group in secondary schools, where it is probably more important that they just play and be active and figure out what
they like.
Yeah. Rather than, and then when they go up in the years groups, that's when it's like, okay, we actually need to now assess you in terms of your movement. And I think sometimes we go performance led quite early on. Like think like 11-year-olds, like at that age, you're not really thinking of, oh, this week in football, I need to make sure that I touch the ball once, and then that one touch needs to be quite a successful pass to be able to go to my teammate.
Yeah.
But then it's just a bit like, well, what? Like as a 11-year-old, surely you just want to kick a ball around.
Yeah, and that's the other difference between like primary and secondary. Primary, the curriculum is all about physical literacy, so it's about building like foundational skills. And then in secondary, there's this then like big jump into, okay, I'm supposed to have like all of those fundamental physical skills, and that actually a lot of people are still like struggling with catching and throwing, and actually you expect this big jump in skill development when actually you can still all play football, but you don't have to have a competitive game of football. You can do drills or fun stuff. And I think the stats around that, as evidence suggests that 64% of girls drop out of sport by the age of 16. So there's barriers around that, and I think competitiveness is a big one.
Yeah, because just imagine being, that age, coming to secondary school and playing football. You already very self-conscious, and and you feel like everyone's watching you and judging your performance ability. So then if you're going to go in and you look at everyone else seeing, oh my goodness, they're so good at football, I'm not going to want to play with them because they might mock me, or I'm worried that they're going to make fun of me or whatever, because I'm not playing at their same level. So I'm just going to sit back and say I'm not going to play today. So I feel like that's the added layer for girls, maybe, when they feel like, and teenagers in general, they think everyone's looking at them. So they're just going to be like, you know what, I don't want this kind of pressure. I'm just going to not take parts. I'm
quite lucky, I suppose, in terms of what I can provide to the schools. So like me rocking up to the schools and being able to provide 6 weeks of rugby and it be pure enjoyment, just like there's no assessment based at the end of it. You then might play a game against another school that I've been doing the exact same with, but there's no like, you must be at this point to be able to play that festival or that game against the other school. It's just literally throw a ball around like a normal PE lesson, but have fun. And I think off the back of it, a lot of the PE teachers then are quite surprised that they actually really enjoyed that. It's like, well, they're just throwing a ball around with their mates.
Yeah.
Like there's like, it's a lot less intense, I suppose, in compared to a normal PE lesson.
Yeah.
So
We've briefly touched on it, but with the rise of social media, how does this constant comparison change how girls feel in PE? Like when you look at social media, everyone's running a marathon, but then, and you know, you're trying to get this really quick time. Like you're never really watching anyone that's just getting outside like for the fun of it. So how do you think that affects sort of the girls in PE and how they feel towards it?
I've definitely seen this. So I've done some research in schools where I've my research is particularly around PE kit and sports kits as a barrier, and I've like gone in and spoke to the girls and also the PE teachers, and I think you find that with sports attire as well, because you kind of have this image that's put online that when you do sport and physical activity, you're kind of in this like matching set with your tight leggings or your like short shorts and your crop top type thing.
Yeah.
And that's what you will see if you like search for women's fitness online, which is crazy. And that's very much like, well, we know that social media kind of influences fashion trends, but it's also influencing kind of sports fashion trends. And I very much found that when I was speaking to a teacher in a school that was basically saying the girls want to come in wearing kind of cycle shorts like the Nike Pros because they're like in at the moment. And the girls are saying that as well, like we want to wear Nike Pros because that's what we're wearing outside of school. And it's really, really tricky because I'm a big advocate for kind of choice and giving girls choice over what they want to wear and making them feel comfortable in what they want to wear. But there's also this balance that schools need to strike with also having some kind of level of uniformity so that PE kit doesn't increase the pressure on girls to look a certain way. Because yes, some girls might feel comfortable in the Nike Pros and feel like they look good. But other girls are then just following the trends because they think that's what they want to wear, but they don't actually feel comfortable wearing that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think social media kind of like sets a precedent almost, which isn't necessarily kind of healthy.
And if I wasn't wearing something that I felt comfortable in, I probably then wouldn't do my best at being physically active.
Yeah, you can't focus.
No,
can you? Yeah.
And that's the problem with social media. It's setting the standard, like an impossible standard for girls to meet. You're looking at these like models. Yeah. That's just ridiculous. And they feel, and they're, you know, this is why we have eating disorders, a significant rise in eating disorders in girls, because they feel like this is the only way I'm trying so hard. There's nothing's working. So I'm going to I'm going to throw myself up. I'm going to starve myself because that's what I want to look at. And obviously that's affecting their mental health. They're not going to perform as well in sports anymore. And yeah, it's an unattainable goal that they keep pressuring themselves to meet. And I think it's really, really dangerous. It's very, I don't think we have actual statistics on how many girls are affected, but I can like put money on, there's probably a lot of girls that are suffering that we are actually unaware of. And this, I feel like this is something that's creeping into our society and we need to tackle it very, very soon because this might lead to very serious conditions in these girls. And it's very sad. It's really sad.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's interesting you brought that up because I think that happens in both girls that are in elite sports and those that aren't. And then, you know, we're talking like missing periods, relative energy deficiency syndrome, which isn't probably a term that those that aren't in the sports world might know. But like for those of us that have been in there, like we know this really well. And it's a really big worry that I don't think gets spoken about a lot. But obviously having like that mentality from social media obviously isn't very helpful. Alice, you touched upon kit earlier and how kit plays a huge part in this. We've seen some advances in professional sport and now it's happening at school level too. But why does this flexibility in kit matter so much?
It comes back to comfort, basically. That's the key. I think if you can provide choice over what girls can wear, that enables them to feel as comfortable as they can playing sports. So my research shows that if you offer choice, particularly for girls, over the types of bottoms they can wear, so if you give them the choice over shorts, leggings, joggers, and say, you know, come dressed what you feel most comfortable in, that comfort drives participation because you're feeling less self-conscious. If you're not thinking about how you're looking constantly, or, you know, it's, you know, what you wear is one of the things that make you feel self-conscious. There are obviously others, but if you can get rid of that barrier and that reason for feeling self-conscious, then that's one step closer to fully participating. So I think, comfort is the biggest driver. The other way of offering choice we found is through the kind of labeling of clothes. So it's interesting that the schools tend to either go for like one unisex kit where like boys and girls are wearing the exact same kind of unisex kit, they're all wearing the same, which might seem inclusive because everyone's wearing the same. But actually what the girls were saying is that the unisex shorts don't fit us because they're basically just boy shorts rebranded, right? That's what unisex clothing is. So they were saying they don't fit me. And they were like, when we sit down, they're like really baggy and then like showing my pants and they were like rolling up the waistband and then they were running and they were falling down, that kind of thing. Yeah. So they were basically saying like unisex is rubbish for us. It doesn't fit the female bodies. They said that unisex PE kit is made for boys. And they wanted a kind of separate like girls and boys kit. And then when I spoke to girls in another school that did have this separate boys and girls kit, they were basically saying, well, the boys kit actually looked better, looks like it's more comfortable and more practical. So for example, there was one school that had the boys kit was like a round neck t-shirt, like wick-away type material. And the girls kit was a kind of heavier material, like polo top collared kind of top. I don't know why there was a difference there. And but interestingly, the teacher was saying, oh, but we have said like anyone can wear whatever, like the girls can wear the boys kit. So I said to the girls like, oh, okay, so if you think the boys t-shirt is more comfortable, are you allowed to wear that? And they were like, well, we are allowed, but we're not going to wear something labelled for boys because then they might get judged for it. So it's really difficult finding that balance. But I think what the girls liked the idea of is having just like a range of styles that are then just labelled neutrally, like baggy, slim fit, regular fit, and then they just choose what's most comfortable. And on some days that might be the slim fit because they're feeling like confident. On other days it's a baggy t-shirt, and I think women feel like that. You have like off days where you just want to put a baggy like jumper on, don't you, and like cover up, and girls feel the same. So I think it just comes back to choice enabling comfort, which can enable participation, I think.
Yeah, I don't know if you had this growing up playing rugby, but I played rugby when women's shorts like didn't really exist. And it was like the worst, wasn't it? Because like things are hanging out, like it doesn't fit properly, like other players are pulling your shorts, and it was like the worst thing. And then when Gilbert came out with like women's fit, you were like, oh, this is great. And it's too tight around the stomach because I bloat really badly. And so like that's the thing. Sometimes I love a baggy t-shirt, baggy short. Sometimes I don't. But rugby kit's getting a bit better. We're just moving away from like white shorts and stuff, which is obviously a mare. I played county level rugby with white shorts, and it like the thing was that they had to be like brand new white looking the whole time, and obviously you've got mud, you're on your period, you've got that to deal with, and I think like it gets spoken about, but I don't think the like realization is there that it is just a nightmare.
I think the Lionesses have done a really good job of opening that conversation, because the Euros, the last Euros, they changed from their white shorts, the traditional England white shorts, to the navy ones, and they came out and very openly said this is because then we don't have the fear around leaking during our periods, and I think they've actually had some nice open conversations about that kind of thing. But yeah, white's just the worst colour. And the same on tops as well. When I speak to the girls, they were like, we don't want to wear a white top because it's see-through. Some people are wearing bras, some people aren't sportsmen. They don't want that added pressure. And then the other thing is also durability. Like if you've got a white top, it gets muddy, and then parents having to spend more money on replacing things. So yeah, white's just...
It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, it's not a good cut. I don't even know what the benefit of having a white kit would be, really. Like, great in the summer when I've got a tan, but like apart from that, it was just a mare, and like having, like you say, to clean it, that was obviously our responsibility. And I don't know, did you ever play in white kit?
No, I don't think so. But I remember when I was younger, our tops that we used to wear, and this is, I say when I was younger, so the rugby club that I joined when I was an adult, we didn't have a rugby kit that was our like women's kit, we wore kit that used to be the men's. So then it was quite like, some of it was quite big, some of it was quite long.
Like, got all the collars, it's really heavy, isn't it?
So
shirt pulling. It's...
Granted, the club did an amazing job and then fixed that very quickly. But first of all, it was just very much like mixed matching. None of us had the same shirt on. Like, we were all very different, but it was, you didn't feel good. And I think a lot of the England women for rugby are doing, like, they're saying, like, if you look good, you smell good, you're going to play good. So a lot of them are now like making sure that their makeup and their hair's done and they feel feminine to then be able to then play good on the pitch and play well and be themselves. I think that's definitely one thing. And if you don't, like we were saying, like, if you're not comfortable in yourself and if you don't feel right in yourself, you're not going to want to be physically active. You're not going to want to run that marathon or be involved as much as you can or play rugby or whatever. I think, being comfortable and but also being yourself is definitely one thing.
I don't get the makeup though. Like, because I remember we were watching the Olympics and there were these people, the women running, and they had like fake eyelashes, full makeup, and their hair was done. And then, at the end they were like sweating, and I'm like, why did you put a full makeup on? Like, you're playing sports.
Yeah.
I find that really strange, but I'm seeing a lot of it now. A lot of women now are putting makeup on when they're playing football, when they're playing different sports, and you see them on TV, and I'm like, is this really what you want? Or are you pressured to look this way? It's very interesting. Maybe they actually do want this, but I think it's quite sad that you feel like you have to put a makeup on, like a full face and fake eyelashes. Come on. And nails, these nails, and what are you doing wearing nails when you're running? I think it's really bizarre, and I don't know is that another thing we're worrying about? These are like older women coming, representing their country, playing these sports matches. Where's this? I've just very recently started noticing this.
I think I can only comment on the rugby world, really. I think I've never been really one for makeup and fake eyelashes or anything, but I know that a lot of the women within the England team very much, if like they want to be unapologetically themselves, and if that is them wearing makeup, then, or like them doing their nails as like a pre-game prep before playing their game on the weekend, then I think that's probably how they prepare for the game, whether that be on the day or the day before. But I think a lot of it is around, like, why, if I want to do this for myself, why not? And I think, so I don't know if it's necessarily going down like a trend or like a new comparison route of, oh, these women that are represented in our country, that's how they should look. I should look the same.
Yeah.
I think if they continue to do it the right way and continue to say that I'm being unapologetically me, I think that's the right way to go around it. But I think if they're having to do it because I feel like I have to, that's probably for the wrong reasons.
Yeah. Because, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just say, if you have kind of like representation of people that do like a full face of makeup, but then you've also got those that like don't wear anything, then like for young girls, then they see that like, oh, I can choose. It's choice. If it comes from a place of choice, that's great. But if it's coming from a place of like beauty standards, that's not great, isn't it? It's hard to like pin down it in terms of what it is.
Yeah.
But if it is personal choice, that's great. But you kind of want young girls to see a spectrum, don't you? At the same time, so they can say, oh, I don't want to wear makeup when I'm playing sport, and then some people might. It's hard though.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, because I'm seeing, because this is my daughter's at school, and I'm seeing a lot of their friends now putting the fake eyelashes and the makeup, and I'm like, you guys are so young, and they would do it. We're going to a football match, and they'll just do it. They'll have this full makeup on, and I don't get it, and I'm worried that it is coming from a place of insecurity of, I need to look a certain way because society is expecting, this is the beauty standard that I need to meet.
Yeah.
And like like you said, we can never tell. Is it that I'm unapologetically me, or is it I am trying to meet certain expectations?
Yeah.
So yeah, but I just feel like young girls, no, I feel like you should encourage their natural beauty, and there's why should we add different layers to what's already there? Like, do you want them to be confident in their own bodies, in their choices, and yeah, but I don't necessarily see that happening in our young girls, and I feel like we should start challenging. I don't know how, because it's kind of getting spiraling out of control now. But yeah,
it's probably just about, I guess, asking them the why. Like, I wouldn't wear makeup doing sport just because like my skin would break out so bad. Like, but I also don't care how, like, I'm at that age now where like I don't care how I look, like I'm quite comfortable. But when I was younger, like, I used to be like, oh, maybe I should put a bit of mascara on, like playing rugby, or I should do that, like, or I should wear like my short shorts or whatever, like when they did bring out the women's such fit. And I think that's how you challenge it, is around that, like, okay, like, why are we doing this? And like, if you're trying to make, like, you know, cover something up, like, why are we doing that sort of thing. All of everything that we've discussed, how much of this do we think comes back to this, like, mixed sex environments, like, you know, the lack of private changing facilities or being judged during the development and puberty years, I guess particularly by male peers?
I think male gaze is quite a big one. Like, I've definitely heard that when talking to girls, like in a PE context, like one of the, and teachers have said this, like, literally we can't have the girls anywhere near the boys when playing PE because they will just stop what they're doing type thing. They just don't.
So distracted.
Yeah, well, they just don't want them to be looking at them because I think they make fun of them. I think that's the issue. Yeah, the boys make fun of the girls, and again, it's a weird one because in primary school it's very much like a mixed environment, and then it's that transition to secondary where you have this split. Then with the girls and the boys, and the girls just I think male gaze is an issue, and I don't know where that comes from really, in terms of like girls learning that they're not as good as boys, and boys learning that they should make fun of girls for playing sport. It's ridiculous really, but
I think it, like, I always got grown up around like the stereotypes of saying of like, oh, you throw like a girl. It's like, what does that look like? Like, show me what throwing like a girl actually looks like, because I'm not very good at actually throwing. I would not be a shot putter or a bowler in cricket, but does that mean that I throw like a girl, or I just throw like me?
Yeah, exactly. And I guess in this movie, following on for the male gaze thing, I think for Muslim girls specifically, they because they feel, and I guess it's more all girls, they feel because they feel more seen and more judged, and because this modesty expectation of how they want to dress and how they want to look, and it is an issue for them that a lot of Muslim girls don't feel safe playing in mixed sex environments, playing sports in mixed sex environments. So that's why there's a lot of initiatives actually in Bristol creating those female-only spaces for girls, which has been incredible for the Muslim girls, because not only do they feel safe and they feel motivated to move, but also they feel more confident, and, you know, if they can dress down for essentially. They don't have to have the hijab when they're playing, or, you know, they can wear shorts if they want to. They feel, because they have that safe space to do that. So I think it is an issue, and the changing space is a massive issue for girls. I'd say specifically, I remember speaking to some Asian girls in our communities, and they were saying that just the changing rooms, because they don't have the private space, specifically Asian girls, a lot of their families don't allow them to wax their legs, for example, shave their legs. So then and Asian girls are typically much hairier. So they're like, I'm really embarrassed changing in front of other girls who have their legs shaved. So I don't want them seeing my hairy legs. So changing in front of them is a huge issue for me. Some girls don't like exposing their hair in front of everyone in the hijab. Like, they want another space to do that. So that's another added layer. It is an added layer. I know this is specifically an issue for all girls, but added layer of barrier for Muslim girls, I think.
Yeah, I think changing rooms is such a big one. Like, similarly, when I've spoken to girls, they've talked about like arm hair.
Yeah.
So sad that you're like noticing that. But yeah, they were saying like they ideally would want the choice to wear like underlayers as skins, which I mean, that's a really easy thing that schools can allow girls to do. And again, allowing girls to wear leggings. Yeah. Because I think body hair, especially going through puberty, you're noticing that like girls want to cover that up. Yeah. But also with the changing rooms, I think there's kind of two ways you can go about it. You can either change the physical space of the changing room and improve it and adding cubicles, but that's hard for schools to do and it costs money and infrastructure. Or the other way of going about it is kind of implementing active uniform policies where pupils can come into school on the days that they have PE and stay in their PE kit all day. And that just eliminates the need for changing, and it also adds time for PE lessons.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it takes them 10-15 minutes to change and change back again. You're having the time of PE.
The ones that don't want to do PE then take
Exactly. So
Yeah.
Well,
Although I did recommend that to one of the schools, and they said the problem is that a lot of the students say that they're smelly for the rest of the day. So that's a problem for them because they can't change.
yeah, I think that it's then about getting the right material, isn't it? So
Yeah.
you've got like the right material that's wick away and doesn't smell. And but I know a couple of schools that have implemented it and have said, schools also, I think, worry about the kind of look of the school and behaviour and stuff. But actually, schools that have done it have said it hasn't impacted people behaviour. Ofsted are fine with it. Like those kind of concerns that schools have. I think the smelliness is the biggest thing, and it's more for the boys, annoyingly. Like you might smell. But again, I mean, you could take in a spare top and go change in the toilet.
Yeah.
It's not a massive
exactly, because it's literally potentially just the top,
it's
really.
just the top.
Yeah.
And you don't have to all be changing at the same time to do that.
Deodorants, perfume, you're set for the day.
Yeah.
And we know teenage girls are like, they're always carried about 3 bottles of perfume.
All the body spray.
Or have PE at the end of the day, maybe, so then they change and then they just go home.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe, but I guess potentially, I mean, it's difficult for different schools to plan PE that way, but yeah.
But I think for women, I think you're right, like having like female safe spaces to like, if they are trying sport or that physical activity for the first time, they probably want to be in like a judgment-free zone.
Yeah.
So then if they do feel like they're making a fool of themselves, or they just kind of want to be themselves and try something new, and then if it doesn't work, it's fine, they can walk away and be like, oh, at least I tried it. But if there is that judgment, or there's males there, or that the public can watch, it's then probably be a bit more like, oh, like, should I be doing this? And that probably adds to the nerves as well of going and trying something new.
Exactly. And I've seen like a huge transformation in a lot of Muslim women specifically trying out physical activity for the first time because they've been offered that space, and it's been transformational for them. It's amazing to see them thrive, and and they're like, I wanted to do this for so long, and I never had the opportunity. So it's great to offer that to them.
Puberty is quite a big life moment for girls. How do we think that shifts their general relationship with movement? So kind of outside of PE.
I think obviously starting your period that's a big one, isn't it? And like navigating being active on your period. I think we don't have enough open conversations about it, and it's not normalized enough. And actually like knowing that activity can help with like period symptoms like cramping and stuff like that. But they're just, I don't know, it's still so much of a taboo in general, and then even more of a taboo of like being active on your period. So I think that's a really big thing for girls to navigate. And it's easier to just say, oh, like I'm on my period, so I won't do sport today. And then you're not in that, then that's a whole week of a month where you're not doing anything. And then you're like out of the habit, and it's harder to build that like consistency over time, I guess.
Yeah, in addition to the periods, you have their bodies forming, so and so then they're growing and at different rates from everyone else, so they don't feel comfortable in their new bodies, and they don't know how to express themselves. And this is why sports bras are really important to introduce, to educate girls. A lot, you have no idea how many girls don't wear sports bras when they're, I don't know how.
It's really scary.
Yeah. So I think this is like the next step. We need to start, educating girls about the importance of having sports bras.
And then they're not on kit lists either. They're like less than 20% of school kit lists. They include sports bras on the kit list, all guidance for sports bras. So it's like, where are they learning this as well? It's kind of just, you just have to learn along the way, don't you?
Yeah. So I think that's all. That all comes with puberty. And because I guess we're not setting the girls up in the right way to. I think maybe this is something that we start from primary school, getting girls to like how we tell the girls about what happens when you reach puberty. Well, we also have to get them these expectations of, well, how do we work around what happens to your body, and how you can stay who you are essentially and stay active even through these exchanges, because there's something that they can't expect and they don't know how to plan for, so we need to help support them through that process.
But also I think, like, thinking back when I was in school and I'd come on my period, it was very much like, this is only happening to me. Oh my God, like, I'm the only one to go through this. I have to keep it a secret. I have to be really quiet in the toilets to open my sanitary pad so no one hears me. Like, that should not be a thing. Like, I think only now in my adult life that if it was only yesterday where I was like, oh, I've come out without a tampon or a sanitary pad. What if I need one? And it was a bit like, I'll just have to ask a random woman. But even in my head, I was thinking, can I do that? Is that okay? Like, are they going to judge me? But it's just a bit like, why should I have to, like, why second guess?
Yeah.
Like, it's a need and like it should be a right for us to have that, I suppose, health care and products for us available at all times. And I think it's only recently that some workplaces are providing free products in the toilets, but are schools doing that? I don't know. Is that like more of a thing where if they're more noticeable in school spaces, it's then a bit like, oh, maybe I'm not on my own. Maybe there are other girls in
You probably have to ask for them, and like that's having to ask.
It's normally like reception, and then from like my experience working in schools, it's like the really big cheap like surfboard pads. So like half the girls I were working with were like, well, I don't use that brand, like I use another one, which is fair.
And also that would feel like during the day, that's just like it's not subtle.
Friendly active.
Yeah. And that's the thing, like I think we spoke about this on the Women's Health podcast, but when I was growing up, it was you used pads if you weren't active, and if you're physically active you have to use tampons. But what the hell do you do when tampons don't work, like, and you can't use them? And then obviously now we've got menstrual cups, which I found out have been around for a very long time, but again it's like, how do teenage girls navigate that, and obviously doing all of that while trying to be active as well? Like it's obviously so like overwhelming, and it is embarrassing. Like I think I have had conversations a lot when I was like coaching rugby and like working schools, but it takes a long time for them to open up. And then, you know, you start having those conversations around like, oh, my cramps are really bad and I'm irregular. And then, you know, you're thinking, oh, do you need to get to the doctors? And like, that's obviously a whole other ball game. But we've talked a lot about the barriers, but what about the solutions? So like in particular to you, Kirsty, how do you currently try to re-engage girls into activity through your programs?
I think it sounds weird, but a big one for me that I tend to try and advertise when I meet girls for the first time is that, oh, I'm going to split you up into teams. I'm going to ask one team to wear bibs. Oh, no, I don't want to wear bibs. They can wear bibs. And it's like, don't worry, I've done the sniff test. They smell really good. I washed them last night. You are the first ones to wear them. And then they'll go and put them on. It's like, these actually smell all right. Okay, fine, I'll wear them. And that's it then, I've got them locked. Like, it's something so simple to just wash the bibs so they're not smelly, wet, dirty from dried mud. Like, something so simple that they would then be a bit like, she actually has taken the time to do so, like has listened to something that teenage girls moan about a lot in schools. And it's just something so minor that you could change, that then they immediately think that she actually, like, she wants us to play. She doesn't want us to worry about the bibs that we're wearing. So, and then as soon as they put the bibs on, you then do tend to find that whatever their movement looks like, whether that's walking, sprinting or jogging, like they're moving, and that's the main thing. But
I never knew that was because I always like see like when I'm taking the kids to their food, I'm like, oh no, we're not going to take the bibs, we're not going to take the bibs. I never knew it was because of the smell. I just thought usually it was ugly or something. I just put it in their pockets.
I don't know if ugliness of bibs is another thing.
Okay.
It might be, but I think the smell and probably the feel as well is probably a big factor. But also, like, what I find is that I'm a big advocate of trying to learn as much as I can about the girls when I first meet them. So, like, even if it's just their name, first of all, and then the next time I meet them, if I've remembered their name, hopefully, I then it's like, oh, Neve, how was your game last weekend? You play rugby, right, already? It's like, oh yeah, it was good, thank you. And they're immediate like, how do you know my name? It's like, you told me last week. And they're like, oh, okay. And then that's it then. You then seem to think that she's again listened and taken on board what she's already told me, and it's again just being like showing that you care.
It's belonging.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's like with generally with students and subjects in general, you always see that they thrive better in subjects when they like their teacher. So they feel like, I want to do well for this teacher. So if you have a PE teacher that you feel like you have a good relationship with, you feel like she cares about you, she really believes in you, then so it really pushes you to do well. So that really makes a big difference.
Yeah. I think with boys, it's very much like they'll just love to be active. And especially if it's a popular sport that they're going to play, you could just throw the ball in. Yeah. They'll do it. Whereas with girls, a lot of the time, it's very much like, why are we doing this? What's the point in this? So you kind of have to be a bit like, well, it's PE. We're going to be physically active, whatever that looks like. You kind of have to be more of a, like explaining more so than boys are just quite happy to just get straight stuck in and wouldn't even think about.
Yeah, I have 4 girls, and everything in her life is about a negotiations, talking. You can't just do, which is nice. Actually, it's an amazing thing about girls. They're not going to do anything. They're not going to take any crap you throw at them. You need to explain to me why this is good for me. And if I'm convinced, I'm going to do it. So
too clever for their.
Yeah,
Exactly.
We've spoken a lot about being judged and the perception of sport being negative. What language should we be using instead to encourage it?
I think it should just be positive. Like, I don't think there should be any negative words or tones in terms of physical activity. And like I think we haven't even touched on this, but like the symptoms of being physically active of like sweating. I think teenage girls kind of see that as like a negative thing, is like, oh, I don't want to sweat.
Yeah.
And it's a bit like, but that's a normal thing.
Yeah,
it will happen.
Yeah, especially with like year 10 and 11 girls. That's the big one that teachers say about, like, they won't exert themselves too much because they don't want to like get sweaty and like have a red face. And but I think because historically, like, I know with PE kit, but probably just PE in general, like it's almost emphasized femininity and like female body ideals rather than just like fun, comfort, practicality. So there's, historically it's been like that, hasn't it? Whereas it should just be about fun, enjoyment, belonging, social skills, like fundamental movement skills that set you up for life.
Yeah. And this is what I feel like we should spin it as, you're not doing it for me. I don't care if you're not. It's actually for you. This is a benefit for you. This is the kind of things that you're going to gain if you are physically active, and this is something that's going to stay with you for the rest of your life. And if not, that's on you. I'm going to be active myself because I care about my health. You don't want to go down that path, but it's up to you. But if we show them the kind of benefits and what happens when one person doesn't stay physically active, what happens when they're in their 80s or 90s, as opposed to someone who is active all that time, you stay young forever. So I think that's the biggest selling point. I think if we can convince them, is that actually this is more for you and stuff.
Yeah, it's the convincing bit.
Yes,
young, you feel that you're invincible.
You're
never thinking about that. Yeah. But if you can really get children to understand that longevity health bit. Yeah. But to be fair, I think they do actually. Like when you see reports and stuff, they all know that physical activity is good for them. So I think it actually is. They know that. So it's about removing all the barriers so that they can can achieve that type thing.
That's true. Yeah.
But I think like positive language. I think when you see a teenage girl do something well, and it be the smallest thing, it could be that they had been disengaged for the majority of the lesson, 5 minutes left, and they know that it's 5 minutes left. So they've gone and run from one end to the other of the pitch. And that was the first movement that they had done. Just praise them on that little thing that they had done. And I think then they instantly think, oh, you know what, I can do it. Like she's noticed that I've done it. I can do it. And that didn't feel so bad. And then hopefully that they then know that it's not as bad as what they think it is. I think positive praise. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, like when I was growing up, I feel that how people have talked about physical activity for me was you need to exercise because you don't want to be fat. So you have to stay like honestly. And I was bigger when I was a child. I only lost weight after having kids for some reason. But I was physically active, but I was on the bigger side. And I feel like that was, I know a lot of people around me is always, and I think that's kind of still stayed with me. I now feel like, well, actually physical activity is not just because I don't want to be fat, but it's good for my well-being. It's something, I'm in my 40s now, so it's actually really important that I do stay physically active because because of muscle density loss and all the health issues that are creeping up now that I'm in my 40s and I'm experiencing. And I don't know. I'm wondering if the messaging around physical activity for girls needs to be changed to more empower them. Say this is not just for you to look a certain way, but or to feel a certain way. It's in the feeling that it gives you, that freedom it gives you. And it took me a very long time to reach that point me personally. And yeah, I know I said I exercise to eat, and it's true. I mean, I do that as well. But it also, the feeling you get is really nice. It's something you've done for yourself, and it's exhilarating, right? So I think it's important that kind of message to come across to the girls as well.
I tend to kind of say that if I didn't have life without sport, I would have no idea what I would be doing.
Yeah.
Or like what I would do Monday to Sunday. Like, I think I would have a boring life. So it's kind of then just a bit like, even if you exercise like once, like for half an hour a day, or even if it's half an hour a week, like whatever it is, like you said, do it for you, but also like hopefully you would find enjoyment and fun out of it. And then you would then, like, I think we spoke a little bit around like the baby steps. Once you've done it and you've dipped your toe into it, hopefully with positive reinforcement and praise, and hopefully that they'll do more and be more physically active than just that half an hour a week, for example.
Yeah.
Ending the discussion, we're thinking about the future. If we get this right and positive change continues to happen, what improvement would we see within the next 5 years? This is our ideal world. We've figured it out. We've solved the problem.
I mean, I would love to see like continued reform in the school PKIT policy space, and all schools having inclusive PKIT policies.
For me, I would see girls not shrinking themselves to do PE, and to start taking part in PE because it gives them a purpose. They feel confident in their own bodies, in their identities, in their choices. And PE for them then becomes not something that's because it's imposed on them, but something that they're engaging in because they want to be free.
I think coming from a male-dominated sport, what I would want to see is those areas, environments having more accessibility for women and girls. I think that should be a national thing rather than Bristol.
Like from my time of like working in schools and coaching and stuff, and working with a lot of young girls that aren't into physical activity, and always like what don't you like about it? Why don't you do it? And like the two things are, it is PE teacher, role model, don't go on with a PE teacher. That individual makes them feel uncomfortable. They've made some comments, which the PE teacher probably doesn't even realise they've made. But the other big one is I don't like rugby, or they'll have a health condition. And obviously, as we all know, like having a long-term health condition can be a barrier to physical activity, but 9 times out of 10, physical activity helps a long-term health condition. But with children and young people, particularly teen girls, when they have a long-term health condition, we don't prescribe them exercise or physical activity like we would with an adult. They just go to school and they do rugby, but they don't like it and it hurts them, or they do football. And actually, like, they might enjoy chair-based yoga, they might enjoy Pilates, like those other sports. I don't know, like, what your thoughts are on that.
I think it's happening more in schools. Like when I've spoken to PE teachers in terms of curriculum, I mean, dance is a big part of girls' curriculum now, probably boys as well, I'm not sure. But and things like, I remember when I was speaking to the girls and PE teachers, they were saying if like the girls are just like, it's tipping it down outside, and we say to the girls, like, what do you want to do? They're like, can we do just dance? Apparently they love that.
Yeah, that's a thing.
That's a really big thing. So yeah, I think, and that is just like a classic example of girls just wanting to kind of like move their bodies in a fun way together and be social. So I think we need more sports that like encourage that potentially. But yeah, I think it's working with girls, isn't it, to find out what they want. Like building a curriculum. It kind of seems like there isn't one curriculum that maybe works best for boys and girls. They almost need to be built separately for boys and girls because they have different preferences and stuff. So I think it is about almost like co-designing PE curriculums. for
Exactly.
girls.
This
I
is
don't know if
this would
that's
be exactly
possible,
this would be the nice thing to
Yeah.
see, like actually 5-10 years from now, is that we build a curriculum where you co-design it with the girls, with the children, to find out, well, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
And let's build it together, as opposed to us imposing activities on them. Why don't they tell us what they want to do, and we can design a curriculum around their choices, which will obviously make them want to take part in this PE a lot more, obviously.
Or do stuff where you're like trying out something for a couple of weeks and then moving on, so they kind of get, because they might have not have had much experience of different sports. So you kind of need to try out to know what you like. But if you're doing like rugby for like a whole term and you realise in week 1 you don't like rugby and then have to do it for another 8 weeks, that's like soul destroying. Whereas if you're, I don't know. Yeah, and I've heard of like schools doing different curriculums, like almost like personality-based curriculums. So one school I was talking to, they had to basically like do a quiz, and then they were kind of like put into different groups based on whether they liked competitive sport. So that was one of the kind of criteria, like whether they were liked competitive nature of sport versus not. And then they were kind of put on groups based on that. So it's also, like tailoring it based on preference and that kind of thing.
That's not nice.
Quite cool. And I like what you say around that, like co-design. So I was just thinking then, my best coaching sessions have been ones where the week before I said, girls, what are we doing next week?
Yeah.
Or like I've rocked up, I probably had a busy day at work, I didn't plan anything. And I'm like, girls, what should we do? And they're the ones that are probably the most fun, and actually they get the most out of, because they've almost taken ownership of it.
We know like autonomy drives motivation. So that's, classic example of that, isn't it?
And I like the sports bra conversation, because I feel like we, as taboo as it is, we always talk about menstrual cycle, but it isn't until like, when I started working with teenage girls, I was like, why are none of you wearing like sports bras? Like, and I remember playing rugby with a normal bra and a sports bra over it, because you just couldn't get like the right one.
And again, it comes back to the changing, doesn't it? They don't. They're not going to want to change their bras. They're tops down.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
I've always been a small-chested girl. So growing up, I was always under the impression that sports bras were only for for more like fuller breasts. So it was a bit like, well, I don't need to wear one then. So I'll just wear a normal bra. But then actually, no, sports bras are for everyone.
I can't imagine playing sports without a sports bra. It must be painful.
I literally wear one every day. I can't wear a normal bra. I have to, because like it's just uncomfortable. And there was this stat I read. I'm probably going to quote it wrong, but when you're like sprinting, the force that your breast produce is the same amount as like an F1 car. It's crazy. I'll have to, it's in an RFU document, I have to get that, maybe cut that bit out if I got it wrong. But it is, but no, it is really, it is bad. And like, I just like remember like sprinting, just hit my microphone, and like sprinting and not wearing the right bra, like you can feel it. And obviously like it's ligaments, so like once you damage it, like if it goes past its elasticity, it's not going to go back. Then obviously that's where you can get like saggy tissue and damage.
And they're also really expensive. And also the rate that girls grow, then like parents have to buy like probably throughout secondary school maybe 3 different sports, but like they're really expensive, they're not accessible. It's terrible.
And they're probably not even wearing like lots of girls I work with didn't even wear the right normal bras because they couldn't afford it.
But also like I didn't know that there was different types of sports bras. Like there's ones
I
for,
don't know that.
So one for like higher support or higher impact, or ones that are just more for if you're just walking or doing yoga. There's more of like a low support sports bra.
Like the flimsy nice ones on social media are like your low impact ones.
Whereas the ones where like you're really sucked up in, you can go on a run.
It's so hard. And like to have that I remember having that conversation with my rugby girls, and then even the mums were like, oh my god, and I was like, oh my god, like how are we gonna like get all this like breast support and bra support in? Because like rugby in particular, there's a lot of force from tackling, from running, from like the amount of hits I used to take to the chest as well, and like falling on the floor. Falling on them, falling on the ball, like on the like, oh god, it's giving me pain.
You can feel it.
It's like, it's a really like, where do you even begin with that? And like you say, like, it's so expensive.
And where the responsibility kind of falls. Like should it fall on schools as part of like PE kits? Should it fall on parents? Maybe it should be a bit of both.
It's a really important piece of kit to keep you safe and to keep your body healthy for longer. And actually, like, you can get so much damage, like your breast tissue from like not looking after it properly. That's going to affect, like, obviously, if an individual wants to have children and like breastfeed, but just like long-term health and like the way they look and obviously they're growing. I just think like it's really interesting that you're talking about it being part of school kit, because like that's just never anything. Like my kit was so ugly growing up. And I don't even remember when I bought my first sports bra, but like it probably wasn't the right one.
That's where it should start, right?
Exactly.
Like puberty, you know, when you're joining secondary school, like that's probably when you should start wearing a sports bra.
Yeah, definitely. And they're actually, I mean, if you get the right one, a lot more coverage. So girls might find it more comfortable to wear them the whole day.
Yeah, exactly.
And get changed in them.
Yeah.
And because like that's my favourite thing about sports bras. She's covered.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can go run now. It's great. And yeah, it's not like poking into you.
Yeah.
Like it's just so important, and I don't think that gets spoken about enough. Like whenever you see sports bras, it's like, you know, big chested girls in the gym, and like they don't even look like they're covering anything, and it's like that's like not really helping me. Like that's not what I want to wear. Obviously if that's what makes you look good, that's your choice, that's fine, but like for me, and I think it's not very good for younger girls to see that, because actually like that's not going to support them.
Yeah.
But also I know friends that are very full chested, and to play sport they've got to wear 2 sports bras because they are so like that end of the spectrum, that to be able to make sure that they're supported and don't get knocked out by a boob. They need to be locked down with 2. And it's just like for that to even be a thing, to then like that must be uncomfortable on its own, that they're wearing 2, let alone then having to do like just a bit mad. So it's again like, yes, they're sports bras, but is even women now, do they even know like the sports bras that are available and where to buy the sports bras and what's the best ones? Because I know there's now vest ones.
Yeah.
So like there's either a zip at the front, or they're actually like a top.
Yes. Yeah.
Which I didn't even realise was a thing. I just thought sports bras.
There's no regulation on them. It's not like you can go and be like, oh, I'll buy like an actual like regulated, supported sports bra. You can get obviously one.
Any ones you want. So yes, exactly.
Things probably aren't supporting you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for having this conversation with me on Teen Girls in Sport.